In this video, we're going to talk about how to find and treat trigger points in the shoulder area. Dr. Jasper here from wizardofhealth.net. Now, a lot of my patients come in with shoulder pain. Now, if you have shoulder pain, pain in the shoulder area, it doesn't necessarily mean that pain is coming from the shoulder. Pain may be coming from the front of the shoulder, the back, it could come from the neck, it could come from the outside of the shoulder. So there's a lot of different areas. And what I like to do is I'd like to break these areas up into sections. So for example, if you've got pain generically anywhere in the shoulder, you want to be able to hit all these sections and find out whether any trigger point muscle knot in any of these sections is giving you that pain. Because a lot of times when people have pain, they'll poke around that area and say, well, I don't really feel anything, but I can't figure out where this pain is coming from. And that pain could have come from all the way down to the mid-back area. So it's really, really important to break your whole body into sections. Let's go through that as an example. First section I always like to break it up into is the outside of the shoulder. Now the outside of the shoulders, I can always use my fingers, reinforce the fingers and bring it right onto that shoulder and just kind of go up and down and try to find a spot. Again, that spot should be recreating your shoulder pain. Now use your fingers, reinforce it. Don't use one or two fingers, reinforce it with about 3 or 4. It's a lot easier, it'll be less stress on your hands. Now a lot of people who pretty much can't do that with their fingers get too tired, they can use what we call the trigger point ball. Again, with the trigger point ball, all you do is stand against the wall and just dig in and go up and down. Make sure you hit all the different spots there and see which one is causing you your shoulder pain. If this gets a little bit easier, you guys can go down and lie down onto it. But I always recommend standing up, leaning against the wall first. You can adjust the pressure as much as you can. Another thing we do is we usually use what we call the muscle wizard. Wrap it around the shoulder, we leverage our knee on the other side, and that allows us to be hands-free and vary the pressure into those muscles into that shoulder on the outside. And because we have 4 different knobs, and you can use 2 at a time, so you can hit more areas. Now that's the outside of the shoulder. Now let's take a look at the back of the shoulder. Again, this is where the rotator cuff muscles are. This is about maybe 60% of the time your pain is coming from here. One of the ways to find out the rotator cuff muscle that's above the shoulder blade is you take your opposite hand, bring it across over, and you should feel a bone back there. And that bone slides anywhere from the shoulder all the way down almost to the mid-back. And you just gotta find that bone, and then you can take a trigger point ball, bring it over, and again, so you can do this lying against the wall or lying on the ground, and you wanna start off on the outside of where that does, what we call the spine of the scapula, and then you want to move it all the way across, all the way until you get near to the mid-back. Then go back across the other way. This is going to work what we call the supraspinatus muscle, one of the bigger muscle groups that gives people a lot of shoulder aches and pains. See if you can roll that ball across there, see if that's going to work. You can also use the muscle wizard again, hands-free. Adjust the muscle wizard right onto that muscle and be able to press in. Another muscle that we can look at is the infraspinatus, which is under that shoulder blade. And for that muscle, what you want to do is, again, you take your hand, find that, what we call the spine of the scapula, the top of the shoulder blade. Then you can take a trigger point ball and go under that blade. Again, start off all the way from the outside, almost near the shoulder, and then work your way across just under that shoulder blade until you get almost near to the mid-back or where that shoulder blade ends. And then what we do is we come back to the outside, go down a little bit, and then go across again. And that's a technique I call plowing the field. So in the plowing the field, you're basically, for example, starting here, going all the way down, coming back up, going across a little bit, then coming down, and then going across, coming down. What plowing the field does, it allows you to target that entire muscle in all the spots so you don't miss a trigger point. So that's that. Another part is the outside of that shoulder blade. And that's one of the spots a lot of people miss. On this spot, the way you get it is you bring that ball to the outside of that shoulder blade coming down, and you glide the ball down that blade. And the reason you're going to do that is because there's about 3 to 4 muscles that are in that area, and you want to be able to target each and every single one of them. Guys, you got to be really specific with how to find a trigger point, because you could be off by about 1 inch and you could miss that one spot that's giving you that shoulder pain. You can also use, like I said, a muscle wizard. We use that very effectively. We strap the muscle knobs right across the outside of that shoulder blade, press down with the knee, and we're able to leverage the pressure right into that spot. The other areas that we want to take a look at is the upper shoulders, which is like what we call the upper traps, the muscle that you kind of do the shoulder shrugs with. You can also use the trigger point ball, but you have to lean forward, probably into a doorway and be able to target it that way, or you can do it simply by just using the muscle wizard. And that's another spot that we can do. Now, the other areas that we want to look at that a lot of people forget is the front of the neck. In the front of the neck, we have a muscle called the scalene muscle. And the scalene muscle can give you a referral of pain into the chest, the shoulder, all the way down the arm. It's one of the muscles that people seem to forget. Again, the way you can use the scalene muscle is you can actually use your hand. If you find what we call the sternocleidomastoid, it'll pop up into your hands, and then what you do is you slide your hand on the outside of that muscle, and that's where the scalene muscle is. And again, you can just palpate with your hands, or we also use the muscle wizard to be able to get into those scalene trigger points. So we got the front of the neck, we got the shoulder, we got the back of the shoulder, side, last spot, the chest area. Now the chest area, the best way to do this is to be able to take a trigger point ball and go against a wall, most likely go into a doorway. And one of the things you want to do is, as you're trying to find those trigger spots, just bring your arm up halfway or all the way up, and then from there, you can start bringing it down a little bit and then down all the way to the side. The reason we want to do that is stretches out the muscles, and you can start targeting different parts, the upper, the middle, the lower part of the chest, while you're trying to find that trigger point. We can always use the muscle wizard on this area. Just be careful because the muscle wizard's pretty intense when you do this stretch, this trigger point spot, and so you got to play around with it. Just be as comfortable as possible when you're doing this. Again, so those are all the different areas. So divide the body parts into sections, and the reason we do that is because we don't want to overlook any of the spots that can give you the pain. There's many times I've had patients that have gone for trigger point therapy. They told me it doesn't work. We poke up into the front of the neck. All of a sudden, we recreate that spot. And the thing is, they've been looking only in the shoulder area. So anytime you get pain in any muscle group, you always want to look away from it into different sections and see if that's recreating your pain. If you need to know anything more about trigger points in shoulder pain or any other pain, you can go to wizardofhealth.net. We got tons of information and videos there to be able to help you get out of your pain. Thanks, and we'll see you guys again in another video.